Welcome back to Talk About It in English. Today, we are going to build a completely stress-free rescue plan for the most terrifying moment in any restaurant. You are sitting at a cafe. You ordered a vegetarian sandwich. The waiter drops a plate on your table, turns away, and you look down to see a giant ham sandwich. Your heart drops. You feel that hot panic in your chest. Do you eat it? Do you shout to the waiter?
I used to just eat the wrong food in silence. Once in London, I got a black, bitter coffee instead of a sweet latte, drank the whole thing and ruined my morning because I was too scared to speak up.
By the end of this video, you will have a polite 3-sentence formula to fix any wrong order instantly without feeling awkward, and we will practice speaking it together.
That feeling of freezing is so universal. I remember sitting in that coffee shop in London, staring at this dark, bitter liquid. In my head, I knew exactly what the problem was, but the journey from my brain to my mouth felt impossible. I started imagining all the things that could go wrong if I complained. I thought the barista might get angry, or that I would use the wrong grammar and everyone in the shop would stare at me. It's amazing how our brains invent these disaster scenarios just to avoid a 10-second conversation in a second language.
It really is amazing, and it is completely normal for language learners. When you are operating in a second language, your social anxiety is already slightly higher than usual. You are using so much mental energy just to understand the menu and order correctly. When something goes wrong, it feels like the script has been thrown out the window. You think to yourself, I prepared for the ordering part. I did not prepare for the complaining part. So the easiest option is just to accept the mistake, eat the food you do not want, and leave quickly.
Exactly. And the sad thing is, you're paying money for an experience you're not enjoying. You leave the cafe feeling defeated. You feel frustrated with the restaurant, but mostly you feel frustrated with yourself because you know you have the English ability inside you. You just didn't have the specific tools for that exact moment. That's what we want to fix today. We want to give you a tool that works every single time, so you never have to eat a ham sandwich when you wanted vegetables or drink black coffee when you paid for a latte.
Before we look at the exact words, we need to talk about the culture of complaining in English-speaking countries like the United States, the UK, Australia, or Canada. A lot of learners come from cultures where sending food back to the kitchen is seen as a huge insult to the chef or the restaurant. It is considered deeply rude, or it causes a massive scene. Because of that cultural background, learners often assume that English speakers will react the same way.
That is such a vital point. When I first moved abroad, I thought that if I told a waiter my food was wrong, I was basically telling them they were terrible at their job. But the reality of hospitality in English-speaking cultures is entirely different. Customer service is built around the idea of the guest leaving happy. Mistakes happen constantly in busy restaurants. Tickets get mixed up. Computers glitch. Cooks read the wrong line on a screen. Waiters deal with wrong orders dozens of times a week. To them, it's not a personal insult. It's just a tiny administrative error that takes 2 minutes to fix.
Exactly. The waiter actually wants you to tell them. If you eat food you do not like, you will not leave a tip and you will never come back to that restaurant. If you politely point out the mistake, they get the chance to fix it. You leave happy and you become a repeat customer. The danger is not the fact that you're complaining. The danger is how you complain. If you shout across the room or if you use aggressive textbook English like, "This is wrong, bring me a new one," that's when the situation becomes awkward.
Yes, the textbook English trap is real. Textbooks often teach us very direct transactional language. They teach us to say, I did not order this, or there's a mistake with my bill. Grammatically, those sentences are perfect. Socially, they're a disaster. They sound like a police interrogation. When you say, I did not order this, you're putting up a defensive wall. You're essentially pointing a finger at the waiter and saying, you failed.
That's why we're going to replace that direct, aggressive language with our 3-sentence formula. This formula uses what we call relational English. It's designed to solve the problem while protecting the waiter's feelings and keeping the atmosphere completely friendly. It removes all the tension from the moment. let's look at step 1 of the formula, which we call the soft opener.
Step 1 is how you catch the waiter's attention and introduce the fact that there's a problem. The exact phrase is, "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake." Let me say that one more time. "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake."
Let us look closely at why this phrase is so magical. First, we start with, "Excuse me." We never ever shout, "Waiter!" or "Garçon!" or snap our fingers. Those actions are considered incredibly rude in English-speaking cultures. A simple, clear, "Excuse me," as the waiter is walking by, or as they are setting the plate down, is the perfect way to pause the action.
Then comes the brilliant part. I think there might be a mistake. Notice what we are not saying. We are not saying, "You made a mistake." We are separating the problem from the person. By saying, "There might be a mistake," we are treating the mistake like a mysterious object that just suddenly appeared on the table. It is nobody's fault. It is just a thing that happened.
And look at the softening words we use. We do not say, "There is a mistake." We say, "I think there might be a mistake." The words think and might are shields. They make you sound humble. Even if you are 100% certain that the waiter brought you the wrong food, using "I think" and "might" gives the waiter space to look at the plate, realize the error themselves, and apologize without feeling attacked.
Pronunciation and tone are everything in this step. If you say this with a flat, low, serious voice, it still sounds scary. Imagine saying, "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake." It sounds like you are about to fire someone from their job. You need to use a slightly higher, rising pitch. It should almost sound like a friendly question. You want your voice to go up at the end of the sentence. "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake." It sounds light, casual, and completely unbothered.
Try to link the words together smoothly. Might be a becomes almost one word, might be a. I think there might be a mistake. When you link the words like this, you sound much more natural, and it automatically softens the impact of the sentence. So, you have paused the waiter, and you have introduced the fact that something is wrong without blaming them. Now, we move to step 2.
Step 2 is what we call the actually pivot. This is where you state what the problem actually is, but you do it gently. The phrase is, "I actually ordered the," followed by your correct item. For example, "I actually ordered the vegetarian sandwich."
The star of this sentence is the word actually. For A2 and B1 learners, actually is one of the most powerful words you can master. In this context, it acts as a polite correction tool. When you say, "I did not order the ham," it sounds like a complaint. When you say, "I actually ordered the vegetarian sandwich," it sounds like you are being helpful. You are providing the missing information to solve the mystery of the mistake. It is nobody's fault. It is just a thing that happened.
I use actually all the time to smooth over awkward moments. If someone calls me by the wrong name, I don't say, "My name is not John." I say, "It's James, actually." It takes the sting out of the correction. When you use it in a restaurant, it instantly signals to the waiter that you are not angry, you are just clarifying the situation.
Let us talk about the pronunciation of actually. It's a word that often gets overpronounced by learners. Many people try to say all 4 syllables, ac-chu-al-li, but natural English speakers usually compress it into 3 syllables, and sometimes even 2.5. It sounds more like actually. The middle part is a very soft schwa sound. I actually ordered the vegetarian sandwich.
Notice that you do not even need to mention the wrong item on the table. You do not need to say, "This is ham, and I actually ordered the vegetarian sandwich." The waiter has eyes. They can see the ham. By just stating what you ordered, you save time and you keep the conversation focused on the solution, not the problem. It's incredibly efficient, but wrapped in politeness.
Exactly. Focus on the destination, not the accident.
So now the waiter knows there's a mistake and they know what you really want, but you still need to ask them to take the wrong food away and bring the correct food. That brings us to step 3, the resolution ask.
Step 3 is where we secure the outcome we want. The phrase is, "Could I get that changed, please?" Once again, "Could I get that changed, please?"
This step is all about replacing commands with questions. In many languages, it is perfectly polite to use the imperative form with a service worker. You might say, "Change this," or "Bring me the correct one," and it is understood as a normal request. In English, using a direct command like that sounds very aggressive, like a general giving orders to a soldier.
To make it polite, we always use modal verbs to frame our request as questions. Could I, or would it be possible to? By asking, "Could I get that changed?" you are giving the waiter the illusion of a choice. Of course they are going to change it, it's their job. But by phrasing it as a question, you respect their autonomy and maintain that friendly, cooperative atmosphere we talked about earlier.
Notice the grammar choice here as well. We say, "Could I get that changed?" using the passive voice. We do not say, "Could you change this?" When you say, "Could you," you are putting the responsibility directly on the waiter's shoulders. When you say, "Could I get that changed?" you are focusing on the action itself, not the person doing it. It is another subtle way to remove blame and keep the interaction completely stress-free.
And of course, we end with the magic word, please. You can never go wrong by adding please to the end of a request. Let us review the entire 3-sentence formula from start to finish. Imagine the plate hitting the table. You look up, make friendly eye contact, and say, "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake. I actually ordered the vegetarian sandwich. Could I get that changed, please?"
It is so smooth, James. It takes less than 10 seconds to say. It requires very little advanced vocabulary. You do not need to know the words for ingredients or refunds or kitchen errors. You just need this simple framework. If learning these polite, everyday survival phrases makes you feel more confident, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a topic. We build these practical toolkits every week to help you navigate real life in English.
Now that you have the formula, we need to prepare you for what happens next. Conversations are a two-way street. After you deliver your beautiful, polite 3-sentence formula, the waiter is going to respond. For many learners, this is the second moment of panic. They worry, what if the waiter argues with me? What if they ask me a complex question I do not understand?
It is a valid fear, but let me reassure you, because you used such polite, non-confrontational language, the waiter's response is going to be incredibly predictable. In 99% of cases, they are going to apologize profusely and immediately promise to fix it. Waiters have their own scripts for these moments. They will usually say something like, "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry about that. Let me take this back and get the right one for you right away."
They might speak very quickly because they are busy and slightly embarrassed by the mistake. You might hear words like apologies, right away, kitchen, or 2 minutes. Do not panic if you don't catch every single word. You don't need to translate their apology. You just need to recognize the tone. If they are smiling, nodding, and reaching for the wrong plate, you have won. The formula worked.
Exactly. And your only job at that point is to accept the apology gracefully. You do not need a long response. The absolute best phrase to use when a waiter apologizes is, "No worries, thank you." It's casual, friendly, and it completely releases the waiter from any guilt. "No worries, thank you." That's it. The interaction is over and your correct food is on the way.
Let's look at a few other situations where you can use this exact same formula. The beauty of this framework is that it's totally adaptable. Let's say you're at a coffee shop. You ordered a large iced coffee, but the barista hands you a small hot coffee. The structure stays exactly the same. You just swap out the middle sentence.
Right. You would say, "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake. I actually ordered a large iced coffee. Could I get that changed, please?" It works perfectly. What if the problem isn't the wrong item, but a missing item? Let's say you ordered a burger with fries, but the plate arrives with no fries.
You can adapt the pivot slightly. "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake. I actually ordered fries with this. Could I get those, please? You still use the soft opener, you still use the actually pivot to state the missing information, and you still end with a polite modal question.
What about a more high-stakes situation? Let's say you have a dairy allergy. You ordered a salad with no cheese, and it arrives covered in cheese. This is a moment where learners often panic because their health is involved, and they feel they need to use very strong, urgent language. But the soft formula still works, and it usually gets a faster, better response than getting angry.
That is so true. If you shout, "I'm allergic to cheese, are you trying to kill me?" the waiter goes into shock and gets defensive. If you use the formula, they just fix it. "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake. I actually asked for no cheese because of an allergy. Could I get that change, please?" By staying calm and polite, the waiter will immediately rush back to the kitchen to fix it because they realize the severity of the mistake, but they still feel respected by you.
Now that we've explored the psychology, the culture, and the exact mechanics of these phrases, it's time to move this English from your brain into your mouth. Knowing the words is not enough. In a moment of stress, your brain will freeze if your mouth has not physically practiced the shapes of the words. That's why we're going to do our shadowing simulator.
Shadowing is a technique where you repeat the phrases out loud, trying to match the exact rhythm, intonation, and speed of the native speaker. We're going to run through the scenario 3 times. For this to work, you must speak out loud. Do not just listen and do not just whisper. Speak at a normal volume right wherever you're sitting or walking.
For round 1, we are going to go slowly. Focus completely on your pronunciation. Pay attention to how the words link together, especially that might be a sound in the first sentence and the soft actually in the second. I will say each sentence and I will leave a long pause for you to repeat it out loud. Are you ready? Here we go. Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake.